The first time I tasted what the fallen call ambrosia on a bun, I was standing in a laundromat parking lot off Sunset, my notebook wedged beneath my arm while suds spun in chrome drums. The truck was a matted gold Airstream with feather-shaped scorch marks along its side, its awning plastered with a crooked halo logo and the phrase "Heavenly Handles." I thought the branding was just another ironic food truck gimmick, until I bit in. The sandwich sang, "There's no other verb," of rose honey and scorching comet dust, of basil that hummed like clean electricity on my tongue. For a moment, the bland human background noise of Los Angeles vanished, and I heard flocks of invisible birds passing through the ionosphere. When the sensation faded, I wrote a 5-star review, so effusive that even my editor at the Culinarian raised an eyebrow. A month later, a different truck, Gabriel's Cersa, parked outside my apartment. The owner, a barrel-chested man with pearl irises and knuckles scarred like they'd fought through clouds of glass, handed me a lamb kebab swaddled in flatbread. I tasted Sumerian mint that hadn't grown since the flood, and the grief of shepherds drowned too young. I cried, then wrote again. It went on like that for a year. 7 roaming trucks, each staffed by people with suspiciously bright eyes and an aversion to mirrors. Their food changed the city. Agents brokered script deals over seraphim-fried plantains. Plastic surgeons traded secrets beside churros braided like a double helix. And I, Lucia Reyes, whose reviews once savaged egos for sport, became something like their prophet. So when they summoned me at 2 a.m. on the Thursday before Oscar Sunday, I went. The address was an abandoned drive-in just south of the river. A pale half-moon turned the cracked asphalt into fish scales. All 7 trucks formed a semicircle around the jumbo screen, headlights off. From the projector booth pulsed a dim glow that smelled faintly of ozone and wet cedar. Raphael, the kebab slinger, appeared first. Gone was the Hawaiian shirt. He wore a double-breasted cook's jacket stitched not with thread but with thin silver cord that pulsed like a heartbeat. On Earth, his hair looked black. Under that projector light, it burned prism bright, each strand refracting some lost colour of dawn. "You came," he said, and relief loosened his shoulders. "You paged me?" I answered, trying for nonchalance and failing. "What's the emergency menu item?" He lifted a finger. Around the circle, generators rumbled awake. Hood vents rose like theatre curtains, revealing stockpots, combi ovens, deep fryers. Except none of them moved. No steam, no sizzle. I smelled nothing. "Supply chain shot," Raphael said. A second figure slid from the shadows, Lilith, who ran cinnamon into temptation incarnate. Her eyeliner looked severe enough to carve obsidian. "Not shot," she corrected. "Tainted." She produced a mason jar filled with what looked like white peppercorns. Inside, the seeds twitched as though trying to sprout, then fell in on themselves like paper set aflame. "Manna pearls," she explained. "Core seasoning of half-hour dishes. Last week we pulled a batch that tasted of rancid metal. Today the entire lot spoils at once. Maybe the orchard's finally gone fallow," I suggested. Raphael shook his head. "The orchard's in the Empyrean. That soil regenerates every epoch." "No, someone poisoned the transport route. We traced the last untainted delivery to a warehouse in Van Nuys." He lifted a charred envelope. Recognition sizzled in my veins. Embossed on its seal was a chef's knife crossed with a laurel branch. "Fox," I whispered. "Damien Fox." The celebrity chef whose Netflix show Celestial Eats had broken streaming records. He converted a former cathedral downtown into a kitchen arena where tourists paid 4 figures to watch him braise lamb in relic-infused wine. An hour in his presence made otherwise sane people pledge their souls for reservations. Also the last mortal I had publicly humiliated. My review of his pop-up 2 years back compared his truffle foam to middle school bubble bath in a slaughterhouse. He responded with an army of social media devotees who flooded my inbox with threats. We'd avoided each other since. "Why target you now?" I asked. Lilith grunted. Because Oscar weekend is when we earn enough good grace to keep heaven from smiting us for the next year. Half that after-party is fed by us. If we fail, the Archons get political leverage to tighten the halo noose. She spoke as if I should already know the bureaucracy of heaven, and maybe I should by now, but I only nodded. Raphael's eyes sharpened. We need someone mortal to verify which stocks are safe. You want me to taste test? Taste, classify, and do it fast, Lilith said. If we purge the rot tonight, we can reroute for new supplies before Sunday. You have the best palate in LA, and you're expendable, unlike us. If celestial poison kills an angel on Earth, the fallout will crack freeways. If it kills a mortal, the city writes it off as fentanyl. Well, when you put it like that, I said, rubbing my arms. Raphael laid a hand on my shoulder. His palm radiated a warmth that tasted in my mind like hammered copper and old lullabies. This earns you more than hazard pay, he said. Redemption is real, Lucia. We all crave it. I thought of the chefs whose careers I'd skewered for clicks, of the sous chefs driven to Xanax because an adjective of mine went viral. I thought of my mother, who said my words cut deeper than any knife. All right, I breathed. Where do we start? The Van Nuys warehouse hid behind a U-Haul rental lot. Inside, stacks of crates rose like termite mounds. The air smelled of sawdust soaked in spoilt milk. Lilith, Raphael, and I wore hairnets and nitrile gloves. Only I carried a spoon. We pulled all deliveries after the expiration wave, Raphael said, indicating 6 pallets wrapped in plastic. You taste from oldest forward. Lilith produced a notebook ruled in an alphabet I couldn't pass cuneiform mixed with electrical diagrams. Describe everything. Flavor is code. I cracked the first crate. Mana pearls glimmered moon white. I scooped 2 onto my tongue. They tasted of freshly mown faith, of choir robes, of the hush before snowfall. Purer. I held up a thumb. Second crate, subtle bitterness, like aspirin dissolving beneath custard. My stomach tightened. Notes, Lilith barked. Undertone of remorse? I tried. Something medicinal. Raphael leaned in. Fox studied pharmacology before culinary school, he murmured. He knows what chemicals can ride emotional frequencies. Third crate, bright citrus, then a wall of dread. I gagged, coughed the pearls into a trash bin. They spasmed like dying fireflies. That's the line, Lilith said, marking a slash. Everything past here's compromised. We worked through the night, each tainted batch twisted in new ways. Envy curdled with grapefruit, despair hidden beneath caramel, rage bright as chili oil in my sinuses. I rinsed with holy water bottled like Evian. By dawn, my tongue felt flayed, but we had maps. 7 safe crates, 8 suspect, 5 deadly. Enough to survive the after-party, Raphael assessed. If we blend the pure with neutral starches and mask the perfume, we can stretch rations. Lilith rubbed her temples. Box won't stop. His ego's a black hole. And if angels fall, he inherits their secrets for his brand. I spat pink foam into a sink. Then we confront him. Raphael's eyebrows climbed. Mortals don't fare well against glamoured celebrities. Mortals with press credentials do, I countered. My paper's covering Oscar weekend. Fox hosts the backstage tasting lounge. Give me 2 passes and a file of the corrupted pearls. I'll make him serve his own poison. Lilith grinned, canines gleaming. I knew I liked you. Oscar Sunday arrived swaddled in marine layer fog and paparazzi flog. While limos clogged Hollywood Boulevard, I wove through service corridors beneath the Dolby Theatre, past pallets of morquette and gold-leaf macarons. Raphael walked beside me, disguised in caterwaiter blacks. Every inch mortal except the faint corona around his silhouette, visible only if you've eaten ambrosia enough times to know light has flavours. We reached Fox's tasting lounge, a vaulted annex once used as a rehearsal studio. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic spears across marble counters, bearing domes of cloche silver. There he was, Damien Fox, Armani tuxedo, crisp as isinglass. His hair, silver at the temples, made him wolf-like. His smile showed incisor. Guests milled, nibbling oysters dusted with stardust. Fox saw me and stilled, nostrils flaring ever so slightly. We hadn't met since my review. I raised my press badge like a shield. "Lucia Reyes," he said, voice velvet over granite. "I'm surprised you dared. Free food transcends grudges," I replied, stepping closer so the crowd noise muffled us. His cologne smelled of bergamot and conquest. "I serve nothing free. The Academy foots the invoice." "Still your food," I said, "and your supply chain." His pupils flicked to Raphael, then back. A shadow of suspicion crept. I produced the file. Pearls inside pulsed faint crimson. "Care to explain why your signature peppercorns bleed malice?" He chuckled. "Hyperbole, as always. That's dehydrated dragon fruit rind. Let's test," I said, plucking a pearl. My tongue recoiled before it touched. "Taste with me." Public demonstration. He weighed optics. Cameras nested in every chandelier, though none streaming live. Finally, he took a pearl, rolled it between thumb and forefinger, then flicked it away. "The world's full of dangerous things, Miss Reyes. Some fall from heaven, some crawl from earth." Behind him, a sous-chef garnished canapé. Anxiety wrinkled her brow. I sensed he'd threatened them all into silence. I leaned close. "You know what happens if angels die eating your samples? Imagine the lawsuit." Fox's nostrils flared again, sharper now. "They're fallen, outlaws. Their deaths tidy heaven's ledger, and mine, so this is crusade." "Brand management," he corrected. "The fallen feed illusions of grace to mortals. I offer the real commodity, aspiration. Humans want to taste the stars. I plan to plate them." I felt bile rise. "You laced an entire city's sense of wonder with poison." Fox's smile thinned. "Poison is context. In microdose it transforms. Toxins drove evolution. They drive art." I glanced over his shoulder. Raphael stood near a pastry table, hands clasped. His eyes asked a question. "Now?" I nodded. Raphael approached, tray in hand. Upon it sat 2 shooter glasses of creamy soup, Fox's famed celestial bisque, rumored to contain pulverized helo dust. "Chef," Raphael said, head bowed. "May we toast your genius?" Fox eyed the newcomer, perhaps sensing the buried divinity, but pride pushed him forward. "Of course." He raised a shooter. I lifted the other, forcing a smile. "To aspiration." We drank. The bisque hit my palate like molten pearl sweet oceanic umami, and then a spike of corrosion. My vision swam. I tasted hospital corridors, long beeping monitors. Raphael collapsed to one knee, face contorted. Gasps rippled through the lounge. Cameras whirred. Fox looked smug until he too swayed. Confusion stampeded across his features. "What?" Lilith stepped from behind a curtain, phone in one hand recording. "Real-time exposé," she announced. "Chef Fox samples his own sabotage." Fox's skin went grey. "You switched the glasses." "Wrong," Raphael said, rising glow intensifying. "We added an antidote to ours. You drank your supply uncut." Fox stumbled back, catching a counter. Sweat beaded. "You think you'll leave here alive? My legal team." "We'll spin that you mixed up your own line," I cut in. "But independent lab tests will trace contaminants to your warehouse. Angels testify via celestial oath. The Academy hates scandal on Oscar night. They'll bury you in non-disclosure agreements and salt." Guests backed away. Security radios crackled. Fox's gaze darted to the exit. Before he could bolt, Raphael raised a hand. Invisible pressure pinned Fox to the floor. Feathers of pure light erupted, forming a lattice over his tux. "Damien Fox," Raphael intoned, voice now carrying centuries. "For malice against heaven, earth, and the hungry, you are banished from all kitchens shaped by human hands or angelic flame." Fox screamed. Not in pain, but in recognition of a future without stoves, without applause. The lattice dissipated. He slumped, hollow. The Oscar after-party proceeded without delay. Fallen trucks parked behind the Dolby, discreetly feeding winners and losers alike. Lilith's Cinnabon swirled cinnamon so fragrant it drowned cologne. Gabrielle's Caesar grill grilled kebabs, whose smoke traced constellations. I station-hopped, palate still raw but safe. Raphael found me leaning against a service door, nursing coconut water. He wore his Aloha shirt again. The night's chill could not touch him. "Lab results?" I asked. "Confirmed," he said. "Fox-laced mana pearls with extracted bitterness from the well of souls. Illegal on every plane." He looked almost sad. "His show's cancelled. Investors fleeing. He'll likely open a steakhouse in Fresno under an alias. Could be worse." "For him, yes." Raphael's focus shifted to me. "For you, there's the matter of redemption." I coughed a laugh. "I figured saving your supply chain bought goodwill." "It did," he agreed. "But redemption's personal. You harmed with your words, Lucia. Now words can heal." He produced a folded paper smelling faintly of juniper. "Heaven's Culinary Chronicle lacks a mortal voice. We want you to document these flavors for both realms." I blinked. "You're offering me a column in, what, the Book of Life?" "Appendix D," he teased, then serious. "Co-commiated with the fallen, stories that remind mortals why taste exists." I looked across the lot. Actors clutched golden statues, yet moaned with delight over pork belly steamed in lotus hymns. At that moment, cinema felt small compared to a bite that could make a grown man weep over lost summers. "I accept," I heard myself say. Lilith popped up, thrusting a pastry. "Sign in blood icing." I bit, caramel spurting onto my chin. It tasted of midnight just before hope dawns. 2 weeks later, my first column dropped. When Angels Saw, I wrote about how cumin can recall funeral marches yet promise resurrection. How sugar caramelized at precisely 347 degrees, allies with broken hearts. I did not mention wings or halos. The world wasn't ready, the editor said, but lines for the trucks tripled. People tasted and felt something like forgiveness. And on bad days, when trolling comments resurfaced my old cruelty, I walked to a parking lot off Sunset, ordered the ambrosia sandwich, and remembered that even fallen angels still feed the hungry. Sometimes Raphael joined me, chewing thoughtfully, feathers hidden beneath flannel. We talked about upcoming menus, about seasons that exist only between galaxies. And one night, as neon drizzled over the city like cheap rosé, he asked, "If heaven reinstated us, would you still write our stories?" I licked mayo from my knuckle, considering. "Stories don't need perfect heroes," I said, "only honest flavors." He laughed, rich as well-aged rum. And Los Angeles, sprawling and cracked and ever famished, glowed a little brighter, as though someone had squeezed a fresh lime over its skyline.